So just for now, imagine that this is a job interview. 2 seconds. Hey, I'm Chris. Who are you? And then you go on to tell me who you are, but not based on who you are right now or who you would like to be, but based on the past. Right? Most people would do that. You tell a story about what you've been doing, what your interest has been, what you have been up to, maybe your upbringing, and maybe some of you will overshare and tell me about your traumatized side and how about your bad childhood? How about the things you're not good at? Maybe you will hide that from me in a job interview. It doesn't matter, you will know it. And you will tell that story. If you don't tell it to me, you'll tell it to yourself. And in this video, we'll talk about why. Why would you like to keep your old story? And don't go defensive on me now. Don't say, yeah, but it is my story. So that's why I tell it. I find relief in it. I will need to overcome it by keep on sharing it. But that's actually false. I'm not talking about accepting it or not accepting it. I'm talking about expanding in the direction of your story. Because what you are caught up in, if you keep on telling that story, is a loop. A loop of having your awareness, and on this channel I talk about awareness, but this video will be slightly broader than normal. You will keep on showing your awareness to that old story. And by doing that, that old story will keep on translating into a new reality. So tomorrow when you wake up, you'll have what seems to be a new reality, but just repetition of what what you have always been telling yourself. Right? So if you keep on telling yourself, yeah, I'm fat, my story is that I'm fat, but I would like to lose weight, then you'll keep on you'll be living in that story, right? That you're fat, and reality turns back into that story. It's your story that manifests. So your story becomes what you're living. You're writing a book with your story, with your internal dialogue, your external dialogue, and it becomes the book you're about to read. So you living your life. So this video will give you an exercise on how to leave that paradigm. Because you cannot walk around looking for reality to change and then you will change, which most people do. I will include my story of being traumatized until I notice myself not being it, and then I will change my story. Or I will keep on walking around feeling fat, but I will change that story once I'm fit. That's not how it works. Your story actually precedes your reality, not the other way around. And by changing your story, you can actually have everything. It is always your story that manifests into a reality. And you will need, after this video, to allow yourself to just tell the story of who you want to be, not who you used to be. Clean slate from today on. All right? Good. What we will start off by doing is talking about how you are not your mind. And you think you're your mind. And normally I would draw this, but just for today, it's Friday, we're just having a nice time here in this job interview. Reality is not fixed. It's a manifestation of your mind. But mind is not fixed either. It's a manifestation of your awareness. So what you're telling yourself, oh, but I always struggle with this, or I've always been bad at this, it's not really real. It's just solidified as real. So it's just real in this moment because it was created by being aware of that. So let's say that you think you are bad at math. It's a thought, it's a belief, and you think that beliefs are just there, but they are not. It's just repetition of a thought until it becomes a belief. That's how the brain is created, right? So that started somewhere by a math teacher telling you that you were bad at math, or a parent telling you, yeah, but I was always bad at math. So you were aware of that and you latched onto it and you kept on proving that to yourself. You told the story, I'm bad at math. You saw the evidence. Already there, you created your reality. You internalized it. Say, yeah, that's right, because I'm bad at math. See it again, bad at math. So you solidified it. by noticing the part of that story and never noticing the part of that story that was not true. So when you were good at math, you probably didn't notice. And the reason why I'm telling you this is for you to realize that if I tell you you can have everything, I work with a lot of people trying to create a reality, right? My subject is normally reality creation, awareness expansion. But most people will have a story as to why they cannot have it, or why it has not shown up the reality that they want. Right? They will tell me, yeah, but the thing I struggle with, Chris, is this, or I always do like this, or I've always had a negative self-image. No, you have not. You have just believed that story for too long. And if I draw this out, I do this in other videos, I will show you how you have reality, you have your mind, and then you have your awareness. So if you pay attention to your mind, you will notice that there is someone in you observing that mind. And you're just the observer. You're the awareness. You're the extension of God. And that awareness is actually not in you, right? The consciousness does not exist in you. You exist in that consciousness. But we won't go there today. This video should just be plain and simple how to change your story. But you are not your thoughts. Your thoughts is your creation. And not only on your behalf. So don't feel bad about it. Because up until the age of 7 or 10 or 15, your story was created by input. Society, parents, grandparents. And maybe you were lucky that your parents gave you a good story about money, but a bad story about love. Or reverse, right? The opposite. Or bad stories about both, or good stories about both. But you'll notice that in some areas of life you just slip through. And in some areas of life you don't. You have a harder time. And the only thing that is different in these two areas is your story. It's the story you tell. All right. And then you will go on, yeah, but Chris, if I feel broke and I start telling myself I'm rich, I won't believe it. Right? Next important point of this video, I won't believe it. And I'm asking you, but believe is not a thing. Believe is the repetition of that thought. So it's a choice. Believe is a choice. So you won't choose it enough times for your head to start believing in it. And you will ask me, is that how it works? Yes, it is. You are sitting there right now telling me, yeah, but I only watch movies that I have watched before because that's the only ones I know. But take a chance. Watch a new movie and see if you enjoy it. Right? That's the same thing here. The unfolding of your story is what will make you believe it, not the belief. So you will start saying it like that, then it will happen in reality, and then you can internalize that and obviously build a huge belief around it. But for right now, you need to choose it. You need to choose you. You simply have nothing to gain from keeping your story. And this is coming from someone that actually kept their story for a long time. I kept my traumatized story for a long time. And how that affected me in my ability to be in relationships, or how it affected me in my ability to do a lot of things. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is so that you know that I know how you feel. That is actually very, not nice, but it actually feels safe to include that. That every time you fuck up in some area of life, you'll just, point it back to the reference of that old story. Yeah, but it's because I learned this, right? But it's actually not in your benefit. You are not the benefit, all right, of this story, unless you change it to what you want. So it's not what I see in reality I will tell. No, it is what I will tell about myself, and my story is what I will see. Okay, this is how reality creation works. And you will realize that you can believe in this or not, but why wouldn't you tell a good story about yourself? Yeah, but I just can't do it. I will keep on, my mind will just tell me the old story. Yeah, but just listen to what I've just told you. Obviously, you know that old movie better than your new movie. It doesn't matter. Stop watching it. Stop quoting that movie. It will wither away if you give it time to wither away. No resistance to that old story. Tell a new story every time that old story pops up. You don't have to believe that story because it's just what you previously created, what you previously were aware of. All right? So you are new and you are free to be reborn today. Imagine, right? You can just tell any story about yourself. And it does not have to be in accordance or in alignment with reality. Reality is the one that needs to settle into you, not the other way around. You can just say it. You'll notice how some people, they do this in, I don't know, a poker game or a card game. Maybe you have an annoying family member that when you sit down to play, they will say, yeah, but I always win in these games. And maybe they will lose and it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter that they lost and they said that. But what you will notice is that they will actually play like that, and they will more often than not maybe win, and they will more often than not reiterate that story, like tell it again and tell it again and tell it again until it becomes true. So become that annoying family member that just tells a story about how great you are, not about how bad everyone else is. Right? I'm not talking about being over those people. And I'm actually talking about lifting everyone up. Because by believing that your own story should be as good as possible, you also believe the same about everyone else. So then you start telling a good story about your dad and your mom and everyone else. Because you know that that's the only right way to do it. Right? And in some people, it will be harder to tell a good story because you really feel like they deserve that old story. But get out of your ego for a second and realize, what do I gain from that? Ego has a big gain in that because ego will say, yeah, but they deserve it, and so I'll keep it like that. Tell a new story about everyone in your life, including you. You really should show that mercy. It will change your life. So the exercise today, right? It is, how do you introduce yourself? That is where we started in this video. It's, how would you introduce yourself? Not only to me, but also to me. But also mention the things and write it down that you would not mention to me. So how do you introduce yourself to yourself? Who are you when you wake up? Who are you when stressed? Who are you when confronted with difficult circumstances? Who do you show up as routinely? What assumptions do you hold about yourself, as Neville Goddard would say? Right? How do you describe your identity? Your self-concept, whatever we should call it, right? And that's point number one. Do that. And then realize how that is a one-to-one reflection about how life shows up to you. That's called the mirror concept. We won't talk about that today, but it's always one-to-one. So the story about yourself is how life shows up to you. Number two, write a new character. Often on this channel, I call it the House of Faith. But write a new character. Simply write it down. How every bad belief is actually non-existent, how you actually believe the opposite. To me, it's normal to feel great. To me, it's normal that I never struggle. To me, it's normal to make money every day. I actually always find it funny when I'm stuck in traffic, because then I get more time with myself. Whatever, right? You get the idea. Just write it down, write a new character. And obviously, you would start off by the character traits that you think you have that annoys you, right? Remove those. Simply translate them into a different language, that new language of yours, right? So you remove that and write the opposite. I never struggle with this, right? So if you feel bad at family reunions, write the opposite, right? Write the opposite. And then obviously point number three to that exercise is acting it out. And what do I mean by that? I mean the acceptance of the fact that that story will translate into a new reality. So it's a choice. It's a choice of showing up for yourself. Okay. Acting it out means that you will start choosing that version of yourself. before it shows. And also choosing that version of yourself in the face of old mind, when what you have been creating in your mind, how your mind was wired by all the negative input from your parents and society, when that shows up in you, you will confront it, not with resistance or bad emotions, but with mercy, and say, yeah, but that's okay that you think that, but that's not me anymore. But thank you for showing me who I used to be. That actually gives me so much more enjoyment in who I now am. So you don't have to listen to that old voice, right? And that's acting it out. It's actually telling yourself that story. And I would make a routine out of it. I would do it every morning, 3 more times, and every night before going to bed. I would know myself. I would get to tell myself this story over and over again. Not because I need to do it, simply because I enjoy to take active part in my creation. For all I know, it's your life. Right? And whether or not you believe in God or Allah, awareness, consciousness, source, some of you believe that you create entirely your own reality. Some of you believe that you co-created with God, and some of you believe that you have absolutely no say. But you cannot lose by changing and choosing your own story. This is what you need to do. So go ahead. The job interview is almost over, but I forgot to hear your answer. So tell me again, who are you? I have time. But you don't have to tell me, because I already know. And you are in for a great one. Talk to you soon. Get out of here. Bye.